a lot of us, you know, we start talking about a change, and then the first thing we say is, oh no, I don't think it will happen. And then I say, okay, let's talk about the barriers. What do you think? And so we process. We just don't say it's not going to happen and stop there. We need to ask, so it's not going to happen. Yes, I hear you. So what is the barrier? What is it that is going to cause it not to happen? Is
For
it
me,
within you? Is it without you?
Grace, looking at that, the foundation is the personal variables.
Yes.
Because when someone says, they can see the change and the beauty in front of them, but they say, I cannot get there. What is it about them that makes them feel and think, I cannot get there?
Exactly, yeah. And so it can be fears, it can be anxieties, and it can also be limiting beliefs, where we have heard so much about what we cannot do, and we haven't heard a lot about what we can do. So at this point, we do need to say, if you are willing and wanting, and you're tired of being in that space, and you're saying, I need to break through, I need God to extend my territory, I need God to free me from this, then we've got to get to the point where we have to check our belief system.
Yes.
What is it that you tell yourself that you can? Unajua mimi ninakuaga hivi. So we need to understand the reason why we are not moving forward. One of the issues is that we self-limit because of messages we have carried in our
My
our
question
minds.
in relation to that is, it is okay.
Yeah.
Mimi niko hivi.
Yes.
Are you comfortable with who you are now? Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you're not, then let's kind of change that. So if I am saying I can't, then let's say, what can you? Yeah, we agree you can't. But what is it that you can do? Among this going forward, what is it that you can do? And then also to be able to have options, even though you don't think they will happen. Open your mind, think out of the box. And then read about people who have broken through barriers in their lives, and learn from them. There is also something else that is so important. Sometimes we are so focused on the negatives about our family. If you had a parent who struggled to give you the foundation that you needed to be able to face life, look at some of the things that are strengths about them. If my mother was harsh, for instance, I need to look back and say and see, what did she do well? Even in her harshness, how did that create the person that I am? What were the things that she instilled in me? It could even be that because of her harshness, I was afraid to go to clubs. And therefore, I was, my life went on like this. Because otherwise, if she hadn't been, I could have gone a certain way. So we kind of also look at, like you said, not everything is 100% wrong. We do need to also look at the strengths that our families had. I remember, for me, one of the strengths that I saw is that there wasn't any one night that we ate our dinner without either both my parents being there, or one, or at least my mother being there. Our parents were always there during the times when we needed for them to be there, and I had never really thought about that.
It was normal.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was a given. But then I realized, when working with people, and actually it hit me when I was working with the youth from an affluent background, and they used to say that, Mimi, I haven't seen my dad in a month.
And you're in the same house.
You are in the same house because dad is always on business trips. But dad is making sure the driver is there. I can go to anywhere I want. If I call and I say I need money, it is sent. But this sitting together and having a meal together, I don't even remember the last time. And I realized that, my goodness, no, with my parents, they were always there. At least one of them was always there. And most of the times my mother would say, we are waiting, Mom, I'm hungry. And she would say, we are waiting for your dad to get here so we can eat.
I think your mom was came from a different world.
Yes.
Because My mom, there are things you would tell her, and the answer she would give you still make fun about it. Yeah. But in her harshness, for my whole primary school period, I never woke up in the morning to make breakfast. And they were both teachers in the same school. But if my mom was on duty, my father took over. And every day at 10:30 during break time, we all used to converge in her class to take tea. She used to carry 2 flasks of tea and pancakes, and she was always in school at 8. The other day I was thinking, she must have been a magician. From 6 to 8, your children have gone to school, well prepared, having taken tea, and you are here with 2 flasks and pancakes. And if you missed tea in her class, you will explain, where were you? We had to take tea as a family. And this week I've been thinking, there is a day I tried to hate my father, but haikuingia. Because the last fight I got from him, he beat me up because of something I had not done. But he was handling a sick brother. So that has now come to me that he had so much to handle. Then something happens, and for him, these young girls, lazima iwe ndio walifanya. And having a history of being naughty, lazima ingekuwa nilifanya. So that week, I couldn't go for tea. And when I went for tea, I could see him coming, up my cup and leave. But that was the worst moment, because I couldn't really stomach hating him. But then at some point I realized I cannot stay with him and I'm not talking to him. How it just melted away, I don't know. But I remember that was the last battle that he gave me. But one thing I learned from my mother is that she was so organized, and she used to do so many things together, and nothing came out wrong. You could do something and she will know. And we grew up like mothers have hid eyes. You were wondering, how did she come to realize that I did this? And somehow I found myself almost doing the same. Because I'll find my child having done something, they try to lie, but I will go asking questions, moving backwards. And they are like, "Ai, we na mami unafuatanga sana." And I'm like, if this thing goes wrong, we will all suffer. And the first person to suffer most will be you, because this is your life. And again, if you need my support, I will use the information that you give me. So the easiest part is to be honest. If it is that tough, we will, in fact, we tell each other, tutamezana, tutapikane na tuendele.
And so as we encourage our viewers to deal with issues from that they still carry as burdens from their upbringing, it is important what we are saying: create empathy for your parents, for the people who brought you up.
Understand their circumstances.
Also understand, if you are brought up by a relative, we have a big population of people who struggle with being mistreated by relatives, because either they lived with them or their parents passed on and they had to be taken care of them. Empathy means that you are able to walk in the shoes of another person, that you are able to kind of understand the situation from their perspective. And it's good to be able to kind of allow yourself to actually look at what could they have been going through.
And grow from the situation.
And grow from the situation, so that you can reduce the amount of negativity you feel towards them. So empathy for the other person is very important. And also to be able to allow yourself to see how that hard experience trained you to be who you are. What did, for instance, some of the things that we grow from that is resilience. Being able to be focused. You know, that you focus on a goal because you don't want to end up in the same kind of trouble. So you focus, you begin to plan your life. You know, that is what happened when I came up with my my hashtag Live by Design is because people asked me, how did you stay single for so long? How did you manage singlehood for those years? And I realized that throughout my life, there were times when I made certain decisions. I was 12 when I said, when I grow up, I want to know why human beings behave the way they do. Little did I know that I would become a psychologist, that I would study psychology, but I felt that I wanted to know that. So it is important for us to be able to understand that in every difficult situation we go through, there is an opportunity for growth. If nothing, it helps you to break out of your comfort zone. It also causes you to break away from denial. And also to break away from numbness, because a lot of us are just on autopilot. And alafu siku moja tu something happens and you have to be aware of what is going on. This is what I normally say, Elsie. When as human beings we deal with two mental health issues, anxiety and depression. Anxiety is the fear of the future, the fear of losing control, the fear of what I don't know and what I can't control. And then depression, for me, is more the regret of the things that I wished I had done or the things that happened to me that were not good. So both of these spaces, we go through that in various times sometimes during our day, triggered by different circumstances. Throughout life, we are either feeling depressed, we are either feeling very fearful or anxious about the future. But that is not to say there is something wrong. It's just to say we are going through life. And what we need is to always look for the opportunity. And sometimes to also understand that life happens and we don't have to have a reason for everything. We don't have to believe, to understand everything that happens. What we need to understand is that it happened, and it is sometimes, even if it's somebody's fault, that it does not mean we cannot continue towards where we were going.
It is not the end.
If I lose the job that I so loved, it doesn't mean that I cannot continue to grow in my career. It just means I go through my process of depression, of loss, and then I now adjust to this newness. I don't stay there mourning what I lost. Look at Joseph. Even in prison, even in when he was sold as a slave, he did not wear the victim gown. Even in that space, he knew his purpose, he knew who he believed in, he knew where they were going together.
He chose to thrive.
Yes, and he said, how can I do such a thing? You know, that is so abhorrible before my God and your husband. I can't. And he chose to run. Now, where did he run to? Into prison. And again, even in the prison, he continued his purpose and he continued his passion for God. And he continued to do the things that he wanted to do. And so at this juncture, I want to say this to, as we end our segment today, I want to say this to our viewers, that it is important for us to understand that your life is bigger than the circumstances you are in right now. It's bigger than the past you have experienced. It's much more bigger than you can ever think or imagine. The best thing you can do for yourself is to continue with the last instructions you were given by God. Isn't that what Joseph did?
Yes.
That Joseph and God had this dream, and he continued on. He never wavered. He never looked at the sideshows. You know, the Potiphar's wife was a sideshow. His brother selling him and throwing him into whatever, it was a sideshow. And even when he went to prison, the issue of God has forgotten me never crossed his mind. He told the guy who was released from prison, he told him, and when you go out there, do not forget me. And the guy went and forgot him. But had God forgotten? No. And this is what I want to say, especially for my viewers who are single, senior singles. I want to say this to you. God has not forgotten you. So keep on looking unto Jesus. Keep on looking and believing in the last promise that you received. And let's keep on growing and let's keep on pursuing that which God has laid in our hearts. Finally, we do need to heed to what my sister Elsie has so very well mentioned. Me time. take time to be self-aware, take time to know what's going on with you, take time to debug, take time to remove the junk, so that you can be able to hear and you can be able to go where God wants you to go. So until we see you next time, please keep living by design. This has been a beautiful time. God bless you.